So my job is to find innovation around the world. And the innovation can come from startups, it can come from students, it can come from founders. And that supply of innovation in the world is growing very rapidly. Meanwhile, the world needs those innovations. The demand side is very high also. The major corporations need those innovations, the government needs those innovations, the UN needs those innovations, and everyday people need those innovations. They need a way to deal with starvation. They need to have a way to deal with disease spread. They need to have a way to deal with safety. They need to have a way to deal with a lot of problems in the world. And we're living in an era that I feel that the innovations that we're starting to see in the world, the creative energy that we see from founders and entrepreneurs and students are really there to help. The good ideas are the ones that affect broadly. And those ideas are the ones that we need to find the way to bridge from the supply side of innovation to the demand side. And in some ways, we're kind of creating a marketplace for these great ideas to not only be fun from a technology perspective or from an innovation perspective, but also apply it to real world problems where people's lives are at stake, where children are growing up in ways that may be dangerous to them. All the kind of issues that we see in the world, there's an opportunity to kind of bridge that gap. And so my job at a large consulting company is to kind of find ways for creativity to match the need in the world, and how do we kind of bridge this together? And that's what we do. We're the bridge makers between the supply side of innovation and the demand side of innovation. My one wish for the future is something I realized a few years ago, which is, I used to go, more than 2 decades of work experience, and I used to go to work feeling like this is my job, and I'm going to come to work every day to do a really good job. Nothing wrong with that. But here's my wish. A few years ago I realized it's not just me coming to work to do my 8 to 10 hours of work. It's also me as a human being coming to work. And it's also me as a way to the work is a way for me to bring more of my passions, more of my vision, more of my creative energy to the table to affect people around me, and also the customers that we have, and also the broader kind of world that I get a chance to play in, that I'm very fortunate to play in. And so I think of my job as a platform for more of me to come to a table to do lots of things, not just a job that my boss asked me to go do. And when I do that, and I find something that is important not only for me, important for who I'm working with, but also important that might be a little bit more important for the broader world, I think there is an open field for more of us to come to the table and enjoy the 8 to 10 hours that we have that we call work. And it really is a platform. And so I come to that realization. My wish for the future is that maybe more people maybe allow themselves to think about it that way, and maybe experiment to turn their job into a platform. It's one of the laws of numbers, right? If everybody did some small thing every day, or frequent times during the day, those little small ripple effects can influence the world around us. And so it's one of these things where we might just think we're just one little factor in the bigger picture. But think about it. If you are able to bring something unique to the world, bring some happiness to people around you, bring some of your own unique capabilities to people around you, you're inspiring the next person to do the same thing. And that is the definition of the ripple. It's one person affecting another person who affects another person who affects another person. So in that model, you're the beginning. I'm the beginning. And it's our responsibility to kind of bring it every day. Because you see the younger generation coming up, and you realize that they're learning things much faster than when, at least I was learning things when I was growing up. They have access to many more ideas and information than I had growing up. So it's hard to give advice in terms of the way that my parents gave advice to me for this next generation. But one thing is common. The rate of change is going to be even faster for our children than it was for ourselves. And the common element is still fear. And if my daughter can live through those changes and apply more and more of herself in those changes, and not do it from a perspective of fear, but do it from a perspective of love and her own creativity coming to the table and doing what she thinks is the beautiful thing to go do, then I think she'll do fine. She'll be perfectly fine. And so I think the ability to deal with change, I think this next generation is going to be able to handle. But are they able to reduce the fear through all of those changes? And that's the one wish I have for my daughter, is that she's able to realize those mechanisms to reduce the fear.